March 14, 2012, my son Thomas lost his battle with the disease of addiction. I now belong to a club that no parent should ever belong to. Do you know the signs? Do you know the trends that children are doing in today's world? Do you know the signs and symptoms? Do you know the signs and symptoms of drug abuse? I want to empower and educate Long Islanders by bringing a force of professionals and how to prevent the disease of addiction. Long Island in Crisis. Good evening and welcome to Long Island in Crisis. This show is dedicated to the education and empowerment for all the families and loved ones that have other members of their family struggling with the disease of addiction. But last week and this week, we're going to dedicate the show to the prevention of our young people and how our young people feel about the overwhelming abundance of drugs and the availability of alcohol in their lives, and how they feel about changing their world and the students that they interact with. Because I will tell you this, the epidemic has had a big head start on the United States, especially Long Island, and we have over 450 overdoses a year. I lost my son 4 years ago, so I'm quite familiar with it. And if we don't start changing our young people of, kindergarten, first, second grade, just doing something different, we're going to be standing in the same place that we are 5 years from now, only it will be a worse case scenario. So let me introduce, we have Tammy Walsh back from Northport and Daryl St. George from Northport, and they are in charge of Project 72. And here are the young people involved with Project 72. Dale, Ryan, nope, Abby, Ryan, Michael. Michael, you're easy. So you are making a choice to be drugs and alcohol free.
Yes.
And can I ask, why did you even think to do that? Have you been personally impacted?
Yeah.
Or impacted by your friends?
Yeah.
Okay, Mike.
Alcoholism and drug abuse runs in my family.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of close family members who have had issues with it, in my life and before that. And it almost scares you sometimes because you think you know yourself and you know your personality, and sometimes if you drift kind of to that addictive side with things, makes you wonder if when you start things, how far are you going to take it?
Yes.
So, makes you think before you want to make those decisions.
And it does run in families, and it can be very hereditary. So we know that now. So we do have to do better. And I can imagine that it did make quite the impact on you. And I don't know if you guys know this, but our good friend Kim Lowry taught me this. She's one of the best prevention people I know. I better say the best. Kim, you're the best. Addiction is an adolescent disease. So if you cannot put a drug or a drink in your body till about the age of 25, you probably won't struggle with the disease, which is pretty cool. Not to struggle with something for the rest of your life. So thank you for sharing that. Ryan?
Because also if I don't drink or if I don't do drugs, then it could impact another person, and they say, well, she's not, so maybe I shouldn't, and then that could maybe prevent someone else from getting addicted or using even once or twice. That could lead to ruining someone's life or even ending somebody's life, and it's just, even if you lead by example, it's still a good way to prevent
Absolutely.
addiction.
But it's not an easy place to be, right? Do you get flack?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you go out places and you see all these other kids who are considered cool and are popular, they're always oh yeah, let's go out and get a drink. why would you want? Don't you want to remember the night you had fun?
Exactly.
If
Exactly.
you're gonna have fun with your friends, why would you want to forget about it?
I know I can be really stupid without the addition of anything. So, and just have fun,
Right.
right? If you can't laugh at yourself, right?
Yep.
It's why not? Why not be silly?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great reason. And
Yeah. And like, I don't know, I've seen people in my school and people in our community who suffered from this, and you know, we've lost so many people, and it's so sad just to see how one night out or a few nights out a week with you thought who your friends were
yeah,
can change your entire life.
yeah. That's for sure. So, how many people in the club, Project 72? And now you have to tell us again, why is it called Project 72? Because I love this.
So we were SAD, which is Students Against Destructive Decisions. When I was younger, it was Students Against Drunk Driving.
Yeah.
But, which is great that it encompasses more than just drinking. And we kind of wanted to get something a little catchier. So we went over several meetings trying to come up with a name. And then they laugh because they say it's the math person in me. But we always talk about
I'm
the
with you.
statistics. And, every 20 minutes, somebody dies of an overdose, which is 3 people per hour with 24 hours in a day, so 72 people a day. And again, sadly, that number has risen. But, hopefully we can change it to Project less than 72.
Yeah, I know. It's very. It really is overwhelming, and in the last few weeks I have spoken to, unfortunately, too many parents that have just lost their kids, have lost their struggle, and it's not a good conversation ever to have, because you can imagine you have siblings, so imagine that sibling not being there, the impact on your whole family, right? That one person. So you have siblings that know all your secrets that you think your mom and dad don't know, but they do. It should never happen. It's very unnatural, very unnatural. So how do you encourage other kids in your grade, or do you just let them? You just be the example?
I try to live by example.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not someone who can tell another person how to live their life. Like, you
Right.
know what? If you want to go and make those destructive decisions by yourself, don't drag me into it with you. But I'll be here if you ever need the support to come out of the addiction or to even prevent another one of your friends. But I won't be partaking in it. So if they ever feel like, oh, they're left out and because they're not doing it, they always know there's at least someone else there that won't be doing it as well.
Do you go to parties where they're serving?
Once in a while.
Yeah,
Like,
Okay.
sometimes you go and you don't even know it's going to be
sometimes
there.
it's just
Okay.
like,
You just go and you're like, oh, guess that showed up. Didn't even realize it was going to be there.
Okay.
yeah.
And I mean, like, I've been around, different friends and people who, they drink when we're, doing whatever we're doing and whatnot. They have that in the back of their system. But when you're there and you're not drinking and you're not partaking in it, it kind of, even if they're not going to say it,
Yeah.
sometimes it makes people wonder, maybe you can just be on that team for one night, Maybe it wasn't the right decision tonight to do that. Maybe it makes people think sometimes when you see other people who are not taking part in what everybody else is or what the majority is.
Daryl, do you think, because I kind of think that if there was more attention given to the kids that choose not to do that there would be more kids to choose not to do that?
Yeah, I certainly think so. I think because often people, including myself, have the assumption that they're all just kind of experimenting.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be very honest with you. I'm sure at some point we'll talk about the summit, and I was under the impression we were going to discuss the summit, but I didn't know we were going to be talking about this. So when I heard each of the kids talk about how they've made this choice, I was even a little surprised by it, and pleasantly surprised. Not that I had assumed that you guys were experimenting. In all honesty, I had never really thought about it. Because I do recognize that teenagers are going to be teenagers and they're going to experiment. And unfortunately, I just assume that they're all kind of doing that. But it really is, it's inspiring to hear them talk about how they've chosen to be drug-free. And I think that if more people heard about it, it certainly would have an impact. And that's what we're striving to do. We're striving to change the culture.
Yes.
And that's not an easy thing.
No.
This is what we've talked about on the last couple shows that you've had us on is how can we facilitate that change that's going to lead to what I've called a cultural revolution. That's what has to happen.
It is what has to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be slow,
Yeah.
and unfortunately at a very high cost.
Yes. Yes.
Societal costs, lives, too high a cost.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a higher cost in so many different areas in terms of the lives we've lost, most importantly, but financially it's going to cost us money to make the changes that need to happen within the criminal justice system and education. And it's at every front there has to be these changes, and it's going to take time, it's going to take money, blood, sweat, and tears, but
well
this
worth
program, yeah, exactly.
Well worth it in the end. Anything worth doing requires pain and suffering.
That's right.
And hard work.
Yeah.
Sadly, which again, this is why you guys are truly leaders, because of of what you just said. But sadly, the kids who are in their position is the minority of high school students.
Yes.
And I feel like as educators and in the school, we acknowledge kids for everything except for this.
Yeah.
Their academics, their athleticism. We have luncheons for all kinds of things. Everything but this. Yeah, the fundraising.
I'll help
and
you
this.
sponsor something for them.
So,
I think it's a good idea.
have some kind of acknowledgement of the kids who are making the good choices, who truly are the leaders of the school, who truly are the examples that kids need to follow in a more public way, so that other kids can see this. Because there might be a lot of kids that don't even realize it, and would want to come on. And we've had also in the past comments from people about some of the kids that have been in Project 72 who are not doing the right thing.
Right.
But we want to make sure the door is open to everybody.
That's right.
And so if we can get those kids to come
That's right.
and feel welcome and see you
And
kids.
You're allowed to make, you're going to make a bad choice sometimes.
Yeah.
And making a mistake doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you made a mistake.
Right.
I think you guys had Chris Herron, right,
Yeah,
to your
yes,
school.
yeah.
And he mentions in his speech,
Mm-hmm.
right, about the two girls that were wearing
The
the
purple
purple
shirts.
shirts.
That's right. That's right.
That was so powerful
Yes.
for me to hear. And
Yeah.
he acknowledged those
Yeah.
two kids.
Right.
And out of everyone there. Because I know that it's easier to go along than it is to walk
Yeah.
against the crowd.
Yeah.
I have always walked against the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. So from experience.
So I know
it's not
from
easy.
experience it isn't easy,
Right.
but it's worth the swimming upstream.
Yeah.
It also can just be a lot of fun though too. If you make it be an adventure,
Right.
right? Why are you doing that? Because I want to.
Just like how I'm not supposed to tell anyone how they live their life, they're not supposed to tell me how to live mine. So if I want to go and
Absolutely.
I don't want to do drugs or drink because I want to have fun with my friends my own way, what are they to tell me that I'm uncool or to not do what they're doing?
So when you guys end up at a party and you realize that there are other things going on, do you just leave? Do you have a text code with your mom and dad? Do you?
One thing that I kind of feel like is, we don't really drink or drug and whatnot. I feel like it's very easy to kind of just say, I've got my friends who don't do this, so
Right.
just going to stick to these people. I'm going to keep that out of my mind, keep that out of, what I'm doing. But sometimes you're in that situation where that's around, and
Yeah.
sometimes people need to see,
That you're
the
not
alternative in action.
Right. Absolutely.
Otherwise, if people are separated, they're not going to figure out anything new, and they're not going to find a solution to the problem. So you kind of got to learn from each other.
That's great to hear from your side, because when I tell parents sometimes is, your kids are going to be in circumstances that they may not be comfortable in.
Mm-hmm.
Always have a way out for them, whatever that may be. Special code that when you see that text come up on your phone, call them so that they have a way. I have to go home. Because if you don't know how to gracefully exit or say, I'm not doing that, At that moment in time that you're there, at least you're out and you're safe, right?
Like my parents always said, like, if you're at a party and you've been drinking or you've been doing anything, don't hesitate to call us. We're not going to yell at you. We're not going to ground you. We just want you to be safe for
Safe.
that night.
Yes.
We don't care what you've done. We
Right.
just want you home and safe. So
Till
don't
the
hesi-
next morning.
Till the next morning.
right.
I mean, they don't have to worry about it or anything, but
Right.
now that we're getting our license, now that we're off on our own, they're like
Absolutely.
very worried, and that's totally understandable, but they're always like, don't hesitate. We're not going to yell. We just want you home and safe.
You know, the unfortunate part is, though, that we see too, is you guys are getting your licenses. You're doing the right thing. Unfortunately, you may be on the road when somebody's not doing the right thing.
That's the
And
worst.
that happens, right, way
And that
too
doesn't have to
often.
be a young person. It could be somebody
be
our
anybody,
age who's
right.
driving around after some drinks or drugs or prescription medication or whatever the case is. You hear
Just
more
had
and
a
more.
51-year-old man, right, on Route 110.
Mm.
Inject heroin and cause a crash. So it happens, you know, and it's they're not bad people, they're sick people.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about the summit, because I still want to get back into
Yeah.
their little heads about everything else that's going on.
Yeah,
Because
well,
this, you know, this is what parents need to
Right.
hear. This is what other educators need to hear, is what you've done in your school, because it should be replicated as much and as often, and it should be a big deal. So, you know, we'll talk, because I think that Thomas's Hope, that's my son's foundation, maybe we'll do a scholarship and do, you know, some kind of essay, you know, and let's make it a big deal.
Yeah, I think, you know, I want to let them speak about the summit, but that's the great thing about the summit is that, in part, it's bringing all the different schools together. And certainly, you know, that's something that Tammy and I really are very passionate about is taking what we're doing in Northport and bringing it to other schools. So that's a big part of the summit. But they're the center of it, and you know, it's important for them to talk about, you know, what their experience was like. I've gotten feedback from students who are on the other end of the spectrum we're talking about. These are all students who've chosen to have a drug-free life, but, you know, if at some point in the show I could talk about it, I had one student who's on the other end of the spectrum who is struggling with addiction, and he had attended the summit, and he had some interesting thoughts, but, you know...
So share them now, so then we'll
Yeah,
hear the
and then
antithesis
hear what they
of
have
it.
to say.
Yeah.
So, you know, what this young man had reached out to me about was how he would love to see something like this offered to more, to a larger audience of people in his situation.
Okay.
So, in other words, you know, how do you take the message that we're delivering in the summit and bring it to people who are struggling? Because, you know, and Tammy and I have commiserated over this. You know, oftentimes we feel that, you know, are we reaching those kids that we need to reach? I've even had kids say, you know, do you feel, you know, St. George, that, you know, you're carrying the message to the people who need to hear it, or is this just, you know, preaching to the choir, that kind of idea? But this young man did struggle, and he did attend the summit, and I know there were a couple of other kids that were struggling. I can think of at least two other individuals that struggle with addiction that had come to the summit. So I know that we at least reached them, but he made a fair point. So what I did was I reached out to a couple of people, and I had suggested, what if we started some kind of a focus group? You know, myself, Tammy, Anthony Ferrandino, the drug and alcohol counselor, Steve Chasman from LICAD, and I told this young man who reached out to me, I said, you know, bring some of your friends that are really having a hard time, and let's all sit down, let's have a cup of coffee, and let's brainstorm. How can we take something like this summit to more people like that who are struggling?
Were they still in high school?
So this young man technically should still be in high school, I think, but he dropped out.
Okay.
So
You know,
that's where he's
unfortunately, when
at.
we do these types of events, and I'm part of Families in Supportive Treatment, the auditorium should be filled to the brim. And Jeff Reynolds once, during actually an event that we were both speaking at, said, and it was at Kings Park High School, if a phone call went out to all the parents in the district and said, there's a black van that's coming around and it's kidnapping children, the auditorium would have been overflowing. There would have been more calls made to the administrators. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Right.
and the black van is here, and it's called drug and alcohol.
Right.
Unfortunately, parents say, well, that's not my kid. It's not my kid. I don't need to do that. And or you have kids that say, oh, I'm not going to that.
Right.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Well, my husband gets upset when he drives by the high school and there's a craft fair or there's a, like whatever it is. I love the craft fair, don't get me wrong. But there's not a parking spot to be had and the streets are lined with cars and you can't get anywhere near the high school.
For tchotchke stuff.
For a
For
craft
stuff.
fair, and I'm not taking away from a concert or a play, but when it comes to the lives of our students and the lives of our children, we get, you get 35 parents.
I know.
And, I get upset.
If you did something now this year about the Zika virus,
Yeah.
Right.
you'd be overflowing. Ebola, overflowing. The chances of that happening to you, slim to none.
And this
the
chance
chances
of
of addiction, 1 in 8, 1 in 7.
And then I was saying to my husband, because again, we have a lot of kids between us, and I talk to kids, and I get so frustrated because I'm really trying to get the kids. I get crazy trying to get the kids who I know are on the fence, who I know are struggling, who I know are experimenting, who I know are. And my husband always says, "What's wrong with you? Think back. Do you think at the time that our son was recreational, experimenting, abusing, using, he always told you, yeah, I'll go, I'm coming, I'll be there, I'm going, oh yeah, And they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it.
No, because they feel that they're in control. Is that a good way
and
to
not
put
only
it?
that,
They
but I
feel
don't.
that I can handle this.
But not just that, I don't
I'm
think they want to
17.
hear the truth.
Right.
They don't want to hear the truth.
And here's the thing, we've got them right here. So what do you guys think
What do
about
you guys
all
think?
this?
One thing that we did at the summit this year, which I think was much more successful than the last year, because, like I said, a lot of people, they think they know everything. They don't want to listen to something new. Although hearing somebody talk to you about their experience,
Yes.
it's it's valuable, but it's only going to reach the kind of person who wants to listen.
Yes.
Where this year we had the Narcan training
Yes.
and whatnot. And I think that's something that people realize, this does happen. They're not, ignorant to it. And if they know how to administer something like this and save somebody, I think that, they realize that they're going to be able to save people and they're going to be able to do something themselves that'll fix the problem without really
Fix the symptom.
Yeah, without really compromising, like, how they think yet. Like, it's a step
Yes.
to fix, like,
Does scare tactics work when you hear somebody go through? No.
Not really, because everyone always thinks like, oh, it was different back then. Like not even like 20 years ago. That's not back then. That's
What if it was just
What's not
5
going to
years
happen
ago?
to me?
right.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
oh,
like,
so
this
many
is, like,
people
so
say-
outlandish,
Yeah.
It's like
how-
they
That'll
have the
never happen to
mentality
me.
of like it's not gonna happen to me. Like I won't get addicted. I won't get that bad. Like I'll be able to stop. Like I won't get in a car when I'm drunk. I won't get in a car when I'm high. And then they make one mistake and like they can ruin their life. They can ruin someone else's life. They can change so many people's lives from one mistake just because they had the mentality of I'm invincible because I'm 17. I'm invincible because I'm still a teenager.
being under like influence of anything. Like your judgment is so off.
Yeah.
Like you can say in your sober mind, like I'm definitely not gonna get in the car if I ever do drink. And then if you do drink, guess what? You're probably gonna get behind a car because that's a sad
Yeah.
realization that everyone.
Without a
everyone
doubt,
does.
that is the sad realization because you're not functioning at your.
You don't like
Right.
you wake up the next morning like. Hopefully, if you
How
ever
did
do,
I
you
get
do
home?
get home.
Right.
You're like, oh my god, how did I get home? You look outside and your car is there, and you go, oh my god, like did I drive home drunk?
Right.
And then then you realize that was me. That person I never said I was going to be turned out to be me.
Yeah. And that happens like that. So I'm going to ask you guys some interesting questions when we come back, but we'll be right back after this message.
Welcome to Formula Auto Wash, where every day is a great day for a car wash. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Sundays 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. detailing packages for every budget, starting out at $29.99. 100% hand wash and detail centre. Hog's hair and microfiber brushes and mitts. Proudly using Ecolab Blue Coral soaps and waxes. Formula Auto Wash has served the community for over 30 years. Senior discounts all day, every day. Ladies' Day Wednesday, $3 off any wash. Early bird discount Monday through Thursday till 9:30 a.m. Check out our website, formulaautowash.com.
You smell so good, I won't have to bathe the next 2 weeks.
Yay!
Anything. So, here, laugh a little harder. All right?
I will take him. I would be proud to show you off, you little old weirdo man.
Get a new sweater. The worst dressed man here tonight. Right? Look, get that laugh, and get it in there tonight because nobody else is gonna laugh like her. She's under drugs, all right?
You smell so good, I won't have to bathe the next 2 weeks.
Yay!
Anything. So, here, laugh a little harder. All right?
I will take him. I would be proud to show you off, you little old weirdo man.
Get a new sweater. The worst dressed man here tonight. Right? Look, get that laugh, and get it in there tonight because nobody else is gonna laugh like her. She's under drugs, all right?
Galaxy Luxury Coach is a full-service limousine and party bus company. Family owned and operated, we are an industry leader with over 25 years of experience in providing best-in-class luxury transportation for your special event. Whether it's your precious wedding day, an all-day wine tour out east, your high school prom, that special birthday, or just an amazing night on the town, our professional chauffeurs stand ready to ensure your special event is truly special. Galaxy Luxury Coach has one of the largest and modern party bus fleets in the New York area. Our party buses are simply nightclubs on wheels. Concert sound systems, light shows, lasers and strobes, multicolor LED lighting brilliantly lights your party bus inside and out. For corporate and more laid-back events, we will cater to your specific needs and requests. What sets Galaxy aside from all others in the luxury transportation industry is our attention to detail in customizing our services to your special event. At Galaxy, it's all about you and your guests. Galaxy customers return time and time again because they know they can trust Galaxy to help deliver those lifetime memorable moments. Step aboard and let your Galaxy experience begin.
Welcome back to Long Island in Crisis. So we are talking to some great young people. This gets me all fired up. And my question to you guys is, are there life skills that could have been maybe taught to you while you were in school, while you were much younger, that would have empowered you better? I mean, you're already making those choices, but think about your friends and think about different circumstances. Is there something that would have helped you to be able to have better communication with your parents, with teachers, with, your go-to people, all of those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like directly speaking with the drugs and alcohol, it's hard because when you're so young, you don't really, have any experience with that yet. But when it comes to
just in life in general.
When it comes to just talking to your parents or talking to your teachers, I know my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was just doing things around the house. I was there playing, doing whatever I wanted, and when she talked to me or she said what was on her mind, what was going on, kind of included me in what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you feel a little more comfortable just saying the way you feel and sharing, maybe Mom, I have a problem about this, because, you know, then it turns your parent into somebody who's a safe person.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
somebody who you can talk to, not the.
Did you get
you know, the
nervous
guard.
before saying I have a problem? Before, were you a little,
Well,
the funny feeling in your belly that you get?
maybe a little bit, but I mean,
Yeah.
like, for most of, like, my problems when I was young, I feel like I always just, like, Mom was somebody on the line
Okay.
who, like, you could just, like, if this doesn't work out, just go to Mom.
Right. Okay.
Ask her what she thinks. But,
That's awesome.
I think we, as society, have a lot to do with it too, because when we were growing up, we didn't have, everything wasn't organized.
Right.
It wasn't all organized sports and organized play dates and organized everything. So when we were growing up, we got coping skills because you and I have a disagreement over who's going to do the jump rope first, and our parents weren't there to say, now girls, work it out.
Yeah.
We figured it out on our own.
Yeah.
And I think that we have lost sight of that.
Yeah.
And the parents are always intervening because there is no unorganized play. So even when they're in the house, home, downtime, not TV time, not phone time, not iPad time. But you know what? I'm cooking dinner, you guys need to figure something out, and you need to, play Legos, but whatever. Imagination. They don't
Yes.
have the imaginative play anymore because this is what you're playing on your play date today. And I think
Yes.
that is the K through 3 that we've lost. Because the kids are not able to figure it out and resolve conflict amongst each other without an intervention by an
my
adult.
favorite line is, there was a reason why you met at 3 o'clock at the flagpole. You were going to work something out.
Yeah.
And
One
one way or another.
Tug and pull and tug and pull
Yeah.
and tug and pull over toys, crying, screaming, yelling. And I know when I was with my kids, I was like, work it out.
Yep.
Work it out. I mean,
the problem is everybody's so scared of, confrontation.
Yes.
And, what can go wrong. Or I think it even goes into, our problem with the drugs and alcohol. People are afraid
Of feeling bad.
What the consequences may be.
Yes,
if
and
you
of
say
feeling
something.
bad.
Yeah, that too.
So, as parents, so you're not in that club yet,
No, I'm not.
but you have a lot of kids. Nobody ever wants to see, right, your child feel bad, not getting picked for a team, not getting the grade that they thought they would, not doing those things. But that's just a part of life. So instead of fixing it, saying what could you have done that would have increased your chances of achieving your goal, right? Giving, empowering you to figure out the other steps that maybe you missed. Because it's, if you want to get a good grade, then there's things you got to do your homework, got to study. There are things that you have to do. You're not just automatically going to get a good grade. When you play sports, you have to go to practice. You got to maybe practice a little bit on your own. There's a reason why you get better.
Sometimes you don't figure that out until you fail either. So I mean,
Absolutely.
but we all need to fail.
We all need to fail.
And
It's
we all
in
need-
failure that we learn.
Right, and now, it's funny, I just played this video that I was cracking up over how, and one of the lines is how a lot of young people can't take criticism because they have undeserved confidence because they were always given a trophy for participating. And everybody's a winner.
Everybody's winner. There's no loser.
Like that commercial where the guy
There
chips
is a-
off the participation award off he's with his kid and he writes number 1. There are winners and losers, and we are going to win at things, and we are going to fail at things. We're going to succeed, and we're going to fail. But failing is a
unfortunately,
part of learning.
It's not the kids' fault. It was
Right.
the adults
It's the
that
adults.
organized
We've
all
done
of
this.
Yeah.
We are a lot to blame for the things we are now complaining about.
I never agreed with everybody getting a trophy.
No, and
There's a
somebody
win-
wins.
And kids are okay with winning and losing. They're really okay with that.
So this
It's,
idea,
Right?
it's almost like exciting sometimes too. I mean, even like thinking back to when you're little, just like being competitive and knowing that if you do this, what's gonna happen,
Right.
My niece once called me when she was in little tiny kid soccer, to tell me that she scored 2 goals. And I was like, that's awesome. She goes, yeah, but they were in the wrong goal, but I don't care. You know, she didn't care. She scored it for
didn't care
the wrong
either.
team. She scored it. But but the parents, of course, I'm sure cared, you know.
It's so funny because my Thomas was 4 years old playing soccer right in Kings Park. He got the ball, tongue hanging out of his mouth, dribbling, going completely the wrong way,
Right.
off the field. And I was standing next to the coach, who was a bit of a crazy man. And I said, yell at him, and it'll be the last thing that you say today. Because he was like, celebrate that.
Right.
He didn't care. And all the kids are now picking dandelions because they were 4 years old.
Right.
So
exactly.
they were okay with what was going on at the moment in time that it was happening.
Just getting it through a goalpost, regardless of if it's the right goal or the wrong goal, is
exciting.
And makes them a winner, you know,
Yes.
in their own minds. So
Absolutely.
they don't care about.
No.
They just want to have fun, and then we say, well, that's the wrong way, or you got to do this.
You know, going back to this idea of allowing our kids to fail and recognizing it, and not in a harsh way or in a punitive way, but, you know, saying, okay, so this was a failure. What can we learn from this? You know, and there is that resistance, that desire to kind of stay away from that conversation because it involves pain.
Yes.
And I think that kind of provides us with a segue back into the one of the main reasons why we're here, which is the drug problem. I think societally and culturally, going back to the idea of the Cultural Revolution too, we do not like talking about pain. We don't like handling pain. We don't like confronting pain. And so we always look for ways to kind of get out of it. And I think that often that's one of the reasons why people resort to drug use, because they don't want to feel the pain.
They
don't want to be in, exactly. They want that sense of escape. So if we can start to face our failures and we can start to accept the idea of failing, and as Michael had mentioned earlier, look to see, the lessons that are being offered there, because I think we've said it, sometimes we learn more. I think, in fact, more often than not, we learn more from our failures than we do our successes, and we start to acknowledge that and bring that back into the culture. I think that's going to be one of the ways that we can really work towards greater preventions with this problem.
And a lot of it's not always just failure with feelings. We know that the adolescent age is horrible. But if we teach them at a young age,
they're like, not so bad.
as far as the feelings wise, how mean and awkward times can be. I remember that. Like, I was like a very introverted wallflower. Like, I didn't want anyone saying anything to me because, that would really bother me. But somehow we coped with that.
Yeah.
So, I guess maybe our parents told us, you know what, not everyone's going to be your friend. And sometimes, but I think that's a lot of the pain I found, at least with my own son, I think, was the fitting in piece. He was always, he was okay with failing at a sport. He was okay with, his main issues was people issues. Not having the confidence, not feeling like he could fit in, not having the courage or whatever you want to call it. The pain that he had was that maybe in his mind you said something mean to him and it could be 5 seconds and you didn't even, it was just in the heat of the moment. Yeah. But that ate him alive. Yeah, you moved on.
Yeah.
That ate him alive. So, for him, the struggles weren't physical failures of things. It was emotional, conflict with his peers. I think of fitting in.
I feel like it's almost like the way you said it. It feels like you feel like you failed at trying to fit in, trying to be that person who you think at that moment is correct and who you think you want to be. Like, it's like
he would always say,
yeah, like,
if I use, I'm the life of the party.
Right.
But not using, he was sitting in the corner, or
because it takes your inhibitions away too.
And it made him so much. And he, basically said it was a self-medicating.
Oh, definitely.
Well, that's what it started as, because then I could walk up to the girl and say, "Hey, how you doing?" Where if I were sober, I could never. I
Right.
would never, no matter what, how much I knew I liked you, I could never come up to you, ever.
Okay.
Because high school is like one big worry. Like you're always worried about
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
is my hair okay? Are my shoes like, are they like considered like cool?
The
Is,
right
like,
pants, the
yeah.
right haircut, the
Is
right
my
makeup.
hair, is like my shirt, like does that match like the popular kids? Like, am I gonna stick out if I wear this to school? Like, does this match? Like, in the morning, like getting ready to go to school, just one big worry.
Stressful.
Do I have a pimple? Are they going to notice
Right.
this? I
It's
can't
like
go to school.
you're spending 20 minutes to cover up like one little skin blemish when like you could be spending 20 minutes like studying or doing something more
Fun.
productive. Yeah, something enjoyable
Like
instead of like
this
worrying.
doesn't change who I am inside.
Yep.
What I'm wearing, how I look doesn't change the person, right?
Sometimes you don't realize that you're your own harshest critic sometimes. You know?
Oh, without
Exactly.
a
You are
doubt.
totally are.
And
It's like-
I think the other challenge that you guys have is being connected to
Yeah.
everything
Everything.
24 hours, 7 days a week. You
Yep.
never get a break from social media, from all of those, you know, and it really is just trying to screw with your mind.
Yeah, because
And
Nobody's
that takes away from your
perfect.
social skills.
Because
Yes.
even on like
You know, we
social
don't have
media,
this.
like social media, like you'll see like some person with like 1 million followers wearing these shoes. You're like, well, I have to get those so I can get 1 million followers. It's like a contest with yourself. Like, how do I make myself better? When like people will eventually like tell you who have graduated high school and graduated college will be like, no one really cares. Like no one's gonna remember like
Your
what your
shoes,
hair looked
right.
like last Tuesday and everything like that. Like eventually, like none of that stuff's gonna matter. And like right now, it seems like such a
It doesn't
big deal.
even
It
matter
doesn't.
to you guys really, and I guess that's a great lesson to take away, is, and if you come out of high school and 10 years, 20 years later, you have 1 or 2 friends, you've done a really great job from high school,
Mm-hmm.
right?
In the long
So-
run, it doesn't matter. People aren't gonna remember. I mean,
No.
yeah, you'll have your friends, but if you're going to college, if you're starting your
You're gonna have a
career,
whole new-
you're gonna have a new experience. It's a new chapter. High school is just prepping you for the real world.
Yes.
How many of you were friends with kids that you went to elementary school with?
Say a solid 3 people.
Okay.
Like
Maybe.
one person would be
Right?
like,
And you
One or
were going to be
two.
friends forever,
Yeah.
all of your classmates. And then you get to middle school, and then, you know, and then you get to high school, and they start dwindling, and all of a sudden, the friends you make in adult life are the friends that end up being your friends for life.
Yeah, the
You
friends
know,
you
it's funny.
have.
You may
You
have
just have
1
like
or
your
2
now.
from
Right.
high school that you really
And it's not
will-
like you're not friends with them, you
Right.
know, but you still are so casual and you see each other
You
and you say
change.
hi, but, you know, it's funny how your
life will take you
totally
in your own
changes.
direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to hold that. We'll be right back after this message.
Galaxy Luxury Coach is a full-service limousine and party bus company. Family-owned and operated, we are an industry leader with over 25 years of experience in providing best-in-class luxury transportation for your special event. Whether it's your precious wedding day, an all-day wine tour out east, your high school prom, that special birthday, or just an amazing night on the town, our professional chauffeurs stand ready to ensure your special event is truly special. Galaxy Luxury Coach has one of the largest and modern party bus fleets in the New York area. Our party buses are simply nightclubs on wheels. Concert sound systems, light shows, lasers and strobes, multicolor LED lighting brilliantly lights your party bus inside and out. For corporate and more laid-back events, we will cater to your specific needs and requests. What sets Galaxy aside from all others in the luxury transportation industry is our attention to detail in customizing our services to your special event. At Galaxy, it's all about you and your guests. Galaxy customers return time and time again because they know they can trust Galaxy to help deliver those lifetime memorable moments. Step aboard and let your Galaxy experience begin.
You smell so good, I won't have to bathe the next 2 weeks. Anything. So, here, laugh a little harder. All right?
I will take him. I would be proud to show you off, you little old weirdo man.
Get a new sweater. The worst dressed man here tonight. Right? Look, get that laugh, and get it in there tonight because nobody else is going to laugh like her. She's under drugs, all right?
Welcome to Formula Auto Wash, where every day is a great day for a car wash. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Sundays 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. Detailing packages for every budget, starting out at $29.99. 100% hand wash and detail centre. Hot air and microfiber brushes and mitts. Proudly using Ecolab Blue Coral soaps and waxes. Formula Auto Wash has served the community for over 30 years. Senior discounts all day, every day. Ladies' Day Wednesday, $3 off any wash. Early bird discount Monday through Thursday till 9:30 a.m. Check out our website, formulaautowash.com.
Welcome back to Long Island in Crisis, and we the adults are learning quite a bit this evening, especially the two teacher advisors here.
Yeah.
So you need to listen to them a little bit more,
definitely.
apparently.
Or they need to tell us
Or
more.
you need to
They're
speak
not
up.
sharing with us.
Yeah. But see what communication does. You're opening up I want you guys to be the most empowered in high school to keep you from making those. Listen, high school's not easy. Growing up's not easy. Life's going to knock you down. It's not if it's going to knock you down, it's always going to knock you down. How do you find your feet again? So how can we empower you to even come through, elementary, middle school, and high school even better?
I feel like sometimes just like you have to give people the right amount of confidence. Not so much like how we were talking about with like the sports before and like everybody gets a trophy, but enough more just like self-confidence. Like you know who you are. Like I remember when I was I had just gotten into middle school, and I was thinking a little bit more about what I look like, about like how things work and how other people perceive you, and my mom kind of noticed it with like the different ways I was acting and whatnot, and all she said was, just be who you are. Don't go chasing after things that you're not, because eventually
That's
the chase
great
will
advice.
end, and you might not like where you are. So
Here's a
just
sign
stay.
that I have hanging in my house. Be yourself because everyone else is taken.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Right? It's easy to be yourself.
Yep.
When you always try to be what somebody else wants you to be, they're not your friend. And I think that's a great lesson to learn and to be taught.
Mm-hmm.
I think that also I feel there's always a way to say something critical and uplifting all at the same moment in time. So, right?
Yeah.
It's all in the presentation.
Right.
So, Ryan, the paper that you did, I can see that you worked hard on it. However, I know what else is inside of you that didn't come through that would have elevated your grade. So,
It is along those lines, and I've had all three of these students in class.
oh boy, so we'll talk later
yeah.
about him.
But one of the lessons I do, and I don't know if Dale and Michael got to, but I know Ryan, you certainly did it. This is not something they're going to be graded on for the Regents, but the first day of class, do you remember this, Ryan?
The quote.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I do is, one of my favorite films, one of the reasons why I went into teaching was Dead Poets Society with Robin
Oh,
Williams.
wow. That's an awesome movie.
It really is. And there's a great scene in the film where Robin Williams recites this Walt Whitman poem, and at the end of it he says, that the powerful play may go on, and you may contribute a verse. What will your verse be? And so I asked the students to identify a quote that answers that question. What is your verse going to be? And ultimately, in thinking about that question and reflecting on that question, you're really asking the question, who am I?
Right.
And it's a deep question, But, what you're hearing them say, and what you just heard Michael say in a very profound and beautiful way, is a lesson that his mother was imparting to him at a very early age. Be who you are. And of course, as we know, we're adults. That's a lifelong process.
Yes, it is.
It's not like you're going to graduate from Northport High School and you're going to say, all right, I know who I am, and now I'm going to go be me. I'm still figuring that out.
Me too.
It's a question that is not discussed enough. It's a question that's not on the Regents. It's a question that's not on any of the standardized tests. And Ryan, what did I spend 3 days on that lesson, really?
Yeah.
Because I gave them the assignment, I gave the lecture, then I gave them a day to find their quotes, and then on the third day, they shared the quotes. We went around the room, and each kid gave their quote and explained why they chose that quote and why they felt that quote explained who they were. That's 3 days of instructional time that I did. Now, is that costing me time that I could have been teaching to the test or prepare? I don't really care.
Right.
I don't care, because that's why I went into teaching, and that's what it's all about. It's helping them on that beautiful, profound, wonderful, exciting
But isn't
journey
that
called
part
life.
of education? And education, of course, has gotten so far away
Yes.
from that, preparing you more for who you're going to be, for these life skills. So, I've talked to your teachers before, and what if in class you got to bring in a prevention message with an English class, like reading a book, and you may want to read it. It's called Forgiving Kevin, and it's written by Larry Glenz, and he was an educator. He is a lacrosse Hall of Fame coach, and he lost his son, who was a Division I lacrosse player, and it's his journal. So imagine reading that in an English class, right? Certainly English, but discussing also a prevention message, all in the midst of being part of your school year. Would that be something that would benefit kids, do you think?
I definitely think it would, because you're talking about the Common Core and the change in education in English, and it's no secret the books that we read aren't objectively chosen. They've all got some kind of thing that they're trying to convey, a deeper message and a motive. Why not put something a little different, something that can help in the long run, that isn't just changing the way we think about an issue, but it's changing a big problem?
Right.
It's a current problem.
It's
We
a current
get
problem.
lost in the, and don't get me wrong, the classics, are great books, but
Absolutely.
we did I was telling you back probably 5 years ago or 4 years, 4 and 5 years ago, I had a lot of English teachers, or not a lot, a couple who were so on board with the book club that I was doing with a lot of the kids in the school, who was letting the kids were allowed to use the books that we were reading, which would have been books along that line, for their outside reading projects. But, as those teachers left and retired, that got lost. So, we were kind of making that connection in the classroom, out of the classroom, and they were getting more of a message on a regular day in and day out, and even outside the school, and we are not getting that, like what you're doing, and there's definitely a way to do it. But it has to be a collaborative effort, and everybody has to buy into it, which I think is where we struggle with faculty too.
Yeah.
They're not buying into it.
No, and in fairness, to some extent, to them, they are, as we are, under this tremendous pressure and Michael and I were discussing this earlier, to get results.
Yeah.
Results that can be measured. Something that you can put on a spreadsheet. But here's the thing, a kid cannot be put on a spreadsheet.
No. And testing is not a reflection of what you actually know.
No.
Because we can out of the three of you, one of you has test anxiety. Who is it? Really?
So
Not
probably
one.
all three of us
Abby.
at some point.
Abby, she's not here. We'll blame it on her.
I mean,
But, right?
everybody at
Everybody,
some point. There's
at some
no
point.
person who can say that they have never been nervous.
So you
for
can
a test.
you can have a 95 average and blow your SATs, and that's going to impact your college application, correct?
Yeah. Because
Is that a
there's always
reflection of
that
who you
one
are?
Regents or that one test, even if it's a quiz, a vocab quiz, you're still do I know these words? If I get a 60 on this one quiz, is that going to bring my whole average down, which brings my overall average down, which then shows on my transcript.
Absolutely.
It's like one thing can have such a little effect.
Absolutely. No, I know exactly. So you'll appreciate this, Tammy, because I was in honors math and my trigonometry regents had all high 90s. The regents, I froze. I literally froze. And I got like a 70-something. I walked home and I walked in the house and I told my mother, I failed. This is terrible. I'm she's like, you couldn't possibly have failed. But to me, getting in the 70s
Right.
when I had, it was the worst testing experience of my life. And it did, change things, but it was what it was.
Yeah.
Nothing I could change about it.
Yep.
The experience was over, and I walked home crying.
When I first started teaching, Rich Castellano, who was like my mentor and Daryl
Great guy.
knows him well,
Yeah.
said to me, you know what? These kids are not going to remember any of the math you taught them when they walk out this door. But they are going to remember the life lessons that you had and times you stopped in class for those teachable moments to say things like something happened in the news,
Absolutely.
I do that with my kids all the time. I mean, we get off topic.
I
from
had
math
an English teacher
all the time.
that once, my classroom at Oceanside High School, there was a courtyard. She goes, we can't go out the door. Everybody climb out the windows. We're going to have class outside today. And everybody sat there. She goes, I said climb out the windows. And we climbed out the windows. But everybody responded to her, listened to her. We had such a great time because we never knew what she was going to do.
Yeah, right.
She made class exciting.
Mm-hmm.
She brought English to life.
Yeah.
And that I remember.
The
I don't
classes
remember
you're
what
gonna
books.
remember are
Right.
like the classes that are interesting and that you're excited to go to, and the classes that you actually like learn something that's gonna benefit you. Not that like math won't benefit you, but
I totally get what you're saying. I totally get it.
but I mean like I'm not gonna remember the Pythagorean theorem.
No, you're never gonna use
that.
it.
You're
When
not.
am I gonna use that? So
So,
it goes to
you know,
the back of my head. But when we did that quote lesson, like I'm never gonna forget the quote that I chose and the quote that some of my friends chose. That we called each other and we were like, "What are you doing? Because I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, is this serious? Is this guy like making this a joke? Like, we weren't sure.
But
because
he
he
was,
first day
he
of
was
school.
challenging you.
Yeah.
Is what he was. He
So
was
it was like-
challenging you to think about who.
That's what I'm
Who
gonna
are
remember.
you?
Like,
That's what you're going to remember.
You know?
And you're going to remember that these two teachers are trying to make a cultural change. How do I show up in life to make a cultural change?
Mm-hmm.
Whether I'm 16 or I'm 60.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Mike.
One thing that I was thinking about when we were talking about, the testing and how you respond to different lessons is, in a perfect world it should be that, you do well in a test because, you were best prepared for it, it should correlate that way. But sometimes you need those moments to just kind of go astray from the curriculum and do things that are really going to impact you deep down. And it kind of brings in a conflict, like, how much time should we focus on, making sure that we're 100% prepared for the test, and how much time should we focus on doing things that will help our, emotional health too, and just like who we are.
I think the purpose of education also is to create and raise great people.
Yeah.
Yep.
That are going
And
to
well-rounded.
bring-
and-
well-rounded and make a change in society.
And in the scheme of things, a 95 on the math test means nothing if you are going to make a poor choice and
Yep.
choose to experiment, which could potentially lead to addiction. And that's just one thing. Or text and drive, or if you're going to make that choice, because that 95 is going to mean nothing if you harm yourself or you harm somebody else.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
Classroom's just four walls of students and, your teacher. When they bring, real life lessons into those four walls, you learn a lot more than you thought you would. You think, okay, I know the Pythagorean theorem, I know what happened in history in this year, but what you don't know is what you're not prepared for in life. Like, when I go outside, when I leave Northport High School and I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't know where I'm going, I'm going to remember these life lessons, and those are what are going to truly help me, not, no offense, not the Pythagorean theorem.
I take no offense. I am not a math nerd. I don't even know how I ended up being a math teacher. I do like math, but more than that is I got into teaching because of you kids, and what could I bring to you outside of the math?
Like
that
those
just happens to be a
little-
place you can get a job.
Those little snippets of life lessons, social skills, anything. It's just, it helps so much, and you don't realize it until you leave, and the next year, and you're like, oh, wow, this is really boring.
And I think it's important for you guys too, right? To know that I like to think anyway, that you all know that if something comes up, you can come to us. Like, we're not just your teachers. Like, you can trust
They're
us
go-to
and-
people.
Right.
Yeah.
We're
I
definitely
like
your
that.
go-to people
You
in
have to have
the
go-to
school.
people.
Like, I tell my students all the time, I don't have you guys in class, but I could someday. I don't care what it is. You know what? You got to come to us. And if it's something that has to go further than us, then I will be there with you to take it to the further than us level.
One of the great mottos, mantras in education that has sadly kind of been fallen by the wayside is in loco parentes, which is Latin for in place of the parents.
Yes.
And as teachers, we are there in place of the parents. And I've often said this to my students: what good parent doesn't love their child? So if I'm genuinely there in the classroom in place of the parents, I love them. And I really do, and I mean that. I love all of my students, even the students I don't like. And yes, there are a couple, but there is a difference between liking and loving. And there's you always get that kid to, why don't you like me? It's like, get beyond that nonsense. I love
Yes.
you, and you might not like what I'm saying to you right now, but it's for your best, because
I've
do
said
care
that to
for
my
you.
own
A great
kids,
kid.
though.
See,
Right.
and
I
that's
love
the
you.
parent,
I
right.
do not
And
like your behavior at that
Exactly.
moment in time.
Exactly. And I've got to be very honest, and we get a little mushy now. Being here with the three of them and four of them, Abby, who's gone now, but just listening to them talk like this is very, for me, it's just, and I think for the three of us, having lost your son, having lost my brother, dealing with, the struggles that, your son has been through,
Yeah.
and it's very, it's a beautiful thing to hear them talk, because, so much of what I do, and I know you both feel the same way, I don't want to speak for you, but so much of what I do is to try to make sure that my brother's death wasn't in vain. And when I listen to them talk, I know that he's alive right now in this conversation.
Without a doubt.
And that's a beautiful thing, that in a way, they're kind of carrying on his memory.
Absolutely.
And by leading, good lives and making the right choices and just listening to them talk, they sound more mature than some of the adults that I'm friends with in my life.
And the one thing that I want you guys to remember is, by your actions and by your example, there are many people that you will change and you will touch, and you will never know it.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Because if you change just one person, you've had a great life.
Yeah.
And that's a gift. So always with your head held high. But I think from the end of this, that we are going to do some kind of a forum.
Yes, I think,
with you guys. And we're going to get some things down in concrete to bring to superintendents and to the principals, and to start to make fundamental changes in our little communities, because that's where it's going to start. And then it can go out, because it'll be like a wildfire.
And again, I think what we need to work on is recognition of this
I was just gonna
group
say
that we're gonna
more
do.
publicly, because
Let's
they're not
get that done
recognized.
before the end of the year.
I think that should be maybe a part of like the next summit. Now we expand it even further, and we have kind of like what Tammy was talking about, where we have an award night that is completely dedicated to this.
Yes.
Acknowledging and recognizing kids who have chosen to live this kind of life. That's I don't know exactly how we would do it. We have
Well,
to
the
kind of
Rotary, like
brainstorm.
our Rotary does,
They
I
need
guess-
to be showcased in school, though.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But the kids all know who gets invited to the Rotary lunches, I feel like. Do you guys know?
Yeah.
Whenever that happens
hear
to be
about
for
it.
the
You hear
month,
about
you
it,
hear
yeah.
about it.
Because you see the one kid walking around with pizza, and you're like, I want pizza.
Or
Where do you get that
they get to
from?
go to a really
And
nice...
then-
Well,
that's where
you
my
know,
mind goes.
It's very
like, I want
basic
pizza.
things. Yeah.
And
But
then
it is.
you ask somebody and say, where did he get pizza? And you go, oh, he got some award, or she got some award because he or she was helping out someone else after school.
Yeah.
And they were
Like
volunteering.
the buddy system or whatever.
Yeah, anything like that. And then you're encouraged. Well, maybe I'll do it if I get some pizza, and it impacts you and it makes you think.
Not because they want to,
Something as
because
simple
they're
as
going to get a
pizza,
slice of
But
pizza.
the Rotary luncheon is a more formal. You went to
Yeah.
the Rotary
Yes,
luncheon,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
We went to, and it's at a nice restaurant. The kids get pulled out of,
School.
school, so they know about it, and it's a big, they get plaques, and it's much more of a recognition.
I'm going to work
thing.
on this. We're going to talk
Yeah, we'll
about
talk more
this.
about it, yeah.
Unfortunately, we've come to the end. I would love to have you guys back on, and I think we're going to put together maybe some more students.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Maybe from some different schools. So that's my thought already. And I've been trying to dedicate more to the empowerment of listening to the generation that's really struggling with this insidious disease, because we are losing a generation of these children, and by far you can see the intelligence and the maturity, and the ones that have been lost or caught up in the disease are equally as talented, just not able to cope with some stresses of life. So I thank you for joining us tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next week. You can catch, thomas'shope.org. You can Facebook message me for any information that you may need, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great week.
Another dark hotel room, musty people.